Welcome back to Hollywood Headliners tonight, where there's a bomb threat in the area, and we think it's already hit us here.
Yeah, we've already been affected.
I'm telling you, I can't find anything on here. I want to play a song that was in 1968. Now, say you weren't born then, Andy. You were already 40, but in 1968. There was a song. I mean, there was a lot going on in 1968. I mean, it was a cool time. There was the Vietnam War was starting. The draft was kicking in. Guys were worried about their draft numbers. So there was a lot of really big stuff happening. And this song,
there we go. This
song was playing. Okay, just listen to the drum beat on this.
This is the vocals.
Young hearts can go that way. Can't put it off another day. I don't care what others say. They think we don't listen anyway.
Lip sync it, Willie. Lip sync it. All right. Wow. Like Dick Clark, man. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Willie Chambers from the Chambers Brothers. Oh, dude. Willie, it is so great to have you with us. Thank you so much for being here. That song was like a freaking anthem. I mean, it was like everywhere. And the version was how long?
11 minutes and some seconds.
11 minutes and some seconds.
Yes.
Now, that's also, songs used to be like 2.5 minutes long. The Beatles would come out and that was a 2.5 minute song, 2:45. And all of a sudden, songs started getting longer, and then you came out with this thing.
We didn't care about rules.
The Chambers Brothers. I want to talk a little bit about the Chambers Brothers before we talk about the song in general. To set this up, because you and your brothers, the guys are Lester, Joe, and George was the older brother?
Yes.
And then you're Willie. And where did you come along in that order?
I'm second.
You're the second oldest.
George is older than I'm second.
Yeah, and you guys were from somewhere down south.
Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Yes.
I just want to prove that I can spell that.
Mississippi.
And you guys started singing in your church. It was a Baptist church? You were part of the choir?
Yes, it was a Baptist church in Mississippi.
So your mama must have raised you good to go to church.
Mom and Dad were church people from day one. I've never known anything other from them.
Yeah. Are you still a church guy?
Yes, sir.
Oh, very good. So you learned
it's my dedication.
You learned the way of the Lord, and you're sticking with it, baby.
Music's my occupation.
I love it. And so you guys were sort of singing guys.
Yes.
Did you have a band of sorts? When did that sort of start for you guys?
Well, we didn't have. Well, we were kind of split up. Myself and my two younger brothers, Joe and Lester, and two of our cousins and a friend, we had a little gospel group. We were the Mount Calvary Juniors, which was the name of my church.
The Mount Calvary Juniors.
Oh. And there was the Mount Calvary Seniors, which two of my older brothers was there. And one day in the cotton fields, picking cotton, we were always singing in the fields and we worked.
Wait, you really did that?
Did I? It did me.
Really?
Oh, that's the hardest thing I've ever done.
Seriously? When did you start picking cotton? How old are you when you started picking
4
cotton?
years old.
No, seriously.
Yeah. You got to go to work when you can.
Yeah.
As soon as you can reach stuff, you're working.
So, and was George working, your older brother, was he working in the cotton field too?
Yes,
So you guys were in the cotton field?
We were in the cotton field singing, just singing songs, which we did every day. And we said, hey, why don't we have a group, just the brothers? So I thought, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
It's a great idea.
I think the four of us sound better than both the groups we were in put together. So we decided, well, we will have our own group. So what are we going to call ourselves?
Yeah.
So about 100 names was kicked around.
Well, like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, we were the Beatles before we ever heard of them.
Yeah.
But we couldn't find a name. We couldn't come up with a name that four people liked at the same time. So we figured we're just going to have to call ourselves the Chambers Brothers.
Yeah, which made good sense.
I reckon so.
You got to love it.
Yeah.
I don't know where that's coming from.
I don't know. Maybe Tony's playing that in the other room because it is it is such a fun song to hear.
But you know, my brother George was just turning 21 at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, he got a notice that his friends and neighbors had selected him for the military service.
Oh yeah,
And
he was drafted.
He got drafted into
Oh,
the Korean War.
Oh no.
So we waited 3 years, and he came out.
Yeah.
And then a whole family, we packed up and moved to sunny California.
So you guys, and were you making any money as a group? I mean, were you doing okay? Were you?
Well, when we did a gig back in those days,
Yeah.
there was a public offering.
Oh.
If you got $10, you were happy.
Well, you know, I know some groups out here in L.A. that are starting up, and they don't get that at all. I
You
mean,
got to pay to get.
you got to pay. You got to pay to get in and do your thing. So, brother, consider yourself lucky,
Oh
man.
yeah, we were right on time.
You were super lucky on that. That is too funny. So you moved out to L.A.
Yes.
And what kind of stuff? What kind of gigs were you guys doing in L.A.?
Well, we continued to be a gospel group when we came to L.A., and that went on for quite a few years. And one day, we did. My brother Joe was cooking hair. You know, the black guys want the kinks out of their hair, and they put
Yeah.
these chemicals in there, like I got.
Yeah. Cooking
It
hair.
knocks the kinks right out
Cooking
of the
hair.
So there was a guy in town by the name of Lightning Hopkins. You might have heard of him. And I was playing guitar for a blues singer named Luke Long Gone Miles, who were good friends with Lightning Hopkins. Well, Lightning was in town at the Ash Grove, and he wanted his hair cooked. So my buddy told him, hey, I know somebody that can do your hair. So a fella took him in a car, drove him down to our house to pick up my brother to go to the beauty supply store to get the chemicals that he needed. And it just happened to be Ed Pearl, who was the owner of a coffee house club in Hollywood that sold beer and alcohol and what have you. And I picked my brother up, and on the way to the beauty supply shop, my brother was saying to Lightning, me and my brothers have a group, and Lightning doesn't say much. Yeah. And the guy driving is looking in the mirror, and he said to my brother, what kind of group do you have? My brother says, we have a gospel group. And Mr. Pearl says, gospel group, what's that? He says, well, it's a gospel. What is gospel music? I never heard of it. He says, well, it's
come on.
songs.
Seriously?
It's music you sang in church.
Yeah.
He says, I never heard it. Why don't you guys come to my club and audition? Maybe you can get a job.
Man, and that's
So we went and rehearsed, and we got as good as we thought we could be. We went to the Ash Grove to do an audition.
yeah. And the Ash Grove was a hot place out here in L.A.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
And we went and auditioned. And when we started doing that music, gospel music was high energy, a lot of hand clapping and foot stomping.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And the people jumped up and started running around like crazy and knocking everything over. And the waitress was pinned against the wall.
Oh my gosh.
And at the end of the audition, Mr. Pearl says, I'm sorry, I can't hire you guys. I can't sell a drink while you're on stage. And look at my place, it's a mess. They've knocked all the drinks to the floor.
Oh, that is too
I'm
hilarious.
sorry, I can't hire you guys. So I says, wait a minute, don't they buy another drink when they, at the end of it all, don't they buy another drink? He says, well, they do. He says, I tell you what, come back in a couple of weeks and let's try it again. Let me check it out again.
That was the start.
Yeah, so we came back a couple of weeks later and we did it again, and he hired us for 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And by the end of 3 weeks, we had lines around the block. And
How did
music was-
Time Has Come Today come about? How did that song come about?
Well, after the Ash Grove, we was there for a while, and we got other gigs, and now we could afford a band house. We had a 2-story band house with a full basement, with a rehearsal studio at the basement.
And you
We
guys
could
were
play
red hot.
music
You must have been
24
making some big dollars, baby.
Oh, we were big time.
Yeah, you were making
We were
what?
paying $165 a month for rent. We were cooking.
You didn't know what to
right?
do with all that money.
Oh, yeah. So we were just cooking away. And one day in the dining room area, I was on an acoustic guitar, and I was trying to write a song in a different manner. I said, I'm going to write some music first, and then I'm going to put some lyrics to it. And I was da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, chow. And my brother Joe
Wait a minute,
was
do that again. What was
chow.
Time has come today. Young hearts can go their way.
brother was upstairs writing lyrics, and he came to the top of the stairway and he says, "What's that music you're playing?" I says, "I don't have lyrics for it yet. I'm just trying to write a song in a different manner."
Yeah.
He said, "Well, I was just writing upstairs, and I'm just sitting there writing, and all of a sudden, this music you're playing is fitting with the lyrics."
It's matching up with your writing.
Yeah. I said, "Well, why don't you bring it downstairs? See what you got." He
No
came
way.
down. He
No
started
way.
singing the lyrics, and it was,
No way.
"Time has come today. Da 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 da. Young hearts can go there with." I said, "Oh yeah, okay. Well then we'll do that lyric." So
it snapped together
just
literally like that.
just like that. So
Wow.
we got went down in the studio with the rest of the band, and we started playing. And we had a 2-minute, you had to think about the rules.
That's right, because everything was short back then. You didn't. Bob Dylan came out with a 4-minute song one time, and people thought this guy is loony.
It's too long.
Yeah, way too long.
Anyway, so everybody thought, "Hey, this is great."
Yeah.
So a couple nights later, I was laying in my bed about 2 in the morning. I says, "Hey, waiter, that's when psychedelic music was just trying to be, and it sounded like this."
Psychedelic. Let's see if I.
It sounded like that.
Yeah.
It had no structure.
Right.
So I says, "I just got this brilliant idea, man. We're going to make a contribution to psychedelic music. We're going to take this part right here. We're going to stretch it out long, and we're going to scream and holler and make noises and just blah, 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 blah." So everybody liked the idea. But we had already, we went and recorded. When we went in the studio to record this song, we did about a 2.5-minute song, and that was all we had. But we didn't like it because the producer put some harpsichord crazy stuff on it.
Yeah.
Just kind of didn't sound right.
Yeah.
So we weren't happy with that at all. But we played it in concert forever.
Speaking of concert, jump forward to your gig at the Hollywood Bowl, opening for the Doors.
Yeah, and we're going to take a quick break here in a minute. No, let's do that though first.
Okay.
Talk about that a little bit, Willie. Go ahead.
Okay. So we played that long version, all the screaming and hollering. I saw people run out the building.
11 minutes.
Scared. No, it was 20 minutes and live.
Yeah, live it was double.
Anyway, we signed with a label, big time label, and we were happy about that. And then the president of the company says, "You know that song, The Time That's Come the Day that you guys do?" We says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, we won't be recording that. We don't do that kind of S on this label."
Oh no.
So anyway, we were heartbroken.
Oh my God.
That's all we really had.
Yeah.
So we said we may as well pack up and go home. And our producer says, "Daggum, man, he's not going to let us record." This guy had followed us forever, everywhere we went, and his biggest dream was to someday record The Time Has Come Today. And then the president of the company says we can't record it.
Yeah.
So he called a couple of days later. He says, "You know what? I don't give a damn what he says. We're going to record this song anyway." He says, "I'm probably going to lose my job, but I don't care." And the guy had a wife and 2 kids.
Yeah, but it's
David Rubinson was his name.
David Rubinson.
Yes.
A nice Baptist boy from Mississippi.
So he says, "When we get our studio date, you guys show up about an hour early. We're just going to hook up the amps. We're going to record it live. Whatever we get, that's what we're going to have to live with. There will be no overdubbing. There will be no splicing." It was all done in one take.
One take.
Wow.
One take.
Oh my God.
We couldn't even listen back. We just recorded. We shut down the machines and we waited.
I love it.
And we finished. When the album was finished, that's when the company realized we had recorded.
You had a hit.
Fired the producer. Fired the people who opened the studio doors. Fired everybody.
You gotta love it.
And a short time later, we're getting a gold record presentation on the Smothers Brothers show on national television. The president of the company shows up and says, "Well, fellas, look like we got one."
Willie, we're going to take a little break. When we
All
come
right.
back, we're going to introduce you. I want you to stay here with us because we're going to meet a little L.A. band here that's doing pretty well.
Okay.
A real catchy little name, the Filthy Souls, right, Andy?
Yeah.
This is another group Andy has
Sounds
found.
like people at my church.
We're talking to Willie Chambers. We'll be right back on Hollywood Headliners. Don't go away.